Dadhood. Modern Dadhood podcast.
Mark, Andrew,
Yeah.
check it.
Adam Josephat Flaherty.
What's up, man?
You old son of a BU.
What are you doing that big stretch like you're a bear coming out of hibernation for?
That's kind of what I feel like, man. It's been so long since I've seen your face.
So that makes you want to stretch your body out?
It makes me just want to get ready for you. Limber up. Is that so wrong?
It's so right. Listen, how about you do the thing where you say the name of the podcast and then talk a little bit about what it is and then where people can find all of our episodes, and you just take it away.
You are listening to Modern Dadhood, which is an ongoing conversation about the joys, challenges, and general insanity of being a dad in this moment. This podcast is hosted by me. Well, hold on a second. Co-hosted.
No, it's okay. You can say you're the host.
Hold on there. Co-hosted by me, Mark Checkett, a dad to twin boy 6-year-olds whose very last day of kindergarten is tomorrow.
Man, oh man.
Big day.
They were like
you, sir?
Babies, basically, right? When we started this thing.
When we began this thing, they were but tiny, squishy bags of meat, you know?
And my name's Adam Flaherty, who happens to be dad to 2 daughters who are 10 and 7, who are just losing teeth like I don't even know what. But yeah, last day of school is Friday, and then it's summer vacay, camps, and staying up late, and
all-night disco parties, illegal fires at the beach. Didn't you?
Exactly.
Didn't you and I once enjoy a tall can of PBR out of paper bags?
Yes,
at the
Hampton
beach over in Hampton, New Hampshire.
That's right. We went to see Tom Segura.
We did.
Who was hilarious.
Very funny.
And then we went to, we got out kind of early, if I remember, early enough that like we could stay out for a while before our wives started asking questions. So we went to an arcade for a little bit.
We did. This was during COVID though. This was during it was summertime, but it was still kind of early in the COVID days. So though you and I were wearing masks, I think, and it was hot. It was very hot.
It was hot.
And I remember both of us sort of thinking like probably shouldn't be inside this arcade anymore.
Right. And so we got some beers, we walked out onto Hampton Beach, laid in the sand.
Just plopped there. Beautiful moonlit night that we spent together.
And our souls intertwined.
They did.
So Modern Dadhood, for those listening, if you are not a regular listener, welcome. Our show is a parenting, fatherhood themed show. Well, Mark and I are not experts. That's
clear by this
grown
point.
Accustomed to saying that we're just a couple of dinks who like to talk about all the awesome things about being dads. And then we like to bring guests in who kind of expand our minds and help us to learn how to be better dads, help us and help you
the listener,
learn how to be better dads.
All of us. We're in this together.
ModernDadhood.com has all of our previous episodes. So if you are just coming into the show now, they're all there. Go check them out. There's some really good stuff in the archives. And if you like what you hear, please tell a friend about the show. This is a fun episode.
Is it? What are we doing?
I know I've left you in the dark about this. Well, it's our Father's Day episode because this episode drops on the Friday before Father's Day weekend.
What a day. What a weekend.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about Father's Day. I want to play a little game with you.
You have a game?
And no preparation needed from you. And this is also one of our rewind episodes. And today's episode, because Father's Day also happens to fall smack dab in the middle of Pride Month, I thought it would be appropriate to bring back and celebrate the awesome episode with Tessa White, who is a trans woman who identifies as dad to her kids. And we had a great chat with her. I don't actually remember exactly when it was. Maybe 2 years ago, Mark?
I'm trying to find out. I'm going to find out.
Yeah, it was a while back.
While you explain.
It was an awesome chat, though. I mean, we covered lots of different topics, but I think, to sum it up very quickly, one of my favorite things about having people on whose fatherhood experiences are very different from ours, and particularly people like Tessa, who is trans, is that this is a topic that can be somewhat uncomfortable to talk about if you don't have the language, you don't use that language in everyday conversations. And so I think by default, when we don't have the language, sometimes our instinct is to just not engage.
Kind of shut down. Yeah.
And so when we have a guest like Tessa on, who's open to talking about anything, even being asked really dumb or ignorant questions, and will educate us and help us to expand our vocabulary, then, I mean, you and I certainly benefit from it, Mark, but all of our listeners do too.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that was a great conversation. Tessa was a lot of fun to chat with. And I did discover April 2022. Was that episode originally. So, wow, quite a while ago.
So we will replay that interview with Tessa White very soon. What's on deck for Father's Day? Do you know? Are they going to surprise you, or do you have a day kind of planned out? What's a good Father's Day look like for you?
Okay. There was a lot of questions.
That was too many questions, and they might all have different answers.
Down. Is anything planned? I would say no. Life has been hectic lately. A lot of stuff going on. End of school. We have a puppy now. Mm-hmm. Some other things going on. Work is busy. So I don't think we've really planned anything. I certainly don't have any expectations. I would like to just have like a chill, fun hang sesh with my kids. I think that's really all I want.
The same thing Jamie said, though, I would imagine a hang sesh that involves no fighting, no yelling, no beating on each other, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would appreciate no constant pestering. It's like this. It's like, here's how it goes. It's like pestering, explosion.
Yeah.
And then we come over on the other side of that and we're calm for like 2 minutes, and then it's pestering, explosion. But yeah, I'd love some fun, maybe a little bike ride around the neighborhood, definitely would be fun to overturn some rocks, see what kind of buggies we can find, see what kind of maybe spiders, perhaps some snakes we can dig up and inspect and do scientific experiments on, that kind of stuff.
Did I tell you about the time that we were hiking maybe 4 years ago now, pretty close to our house, out in the woods, and we kind of walked up this path up a little hill, and I think Sarah saw something off to the right moving, and we looked, and we thought it was a snake at first. Mm-hmm. But what it turns out it was a giant ball of snakes.
Whoa, what?
Like all wrapped up together. Like,
is this like a snake family, or what is this?
I guess so. Like there were snakes of all sizes. I think it was a mother snake and a whole bunch of smaller, but the smaller ones definitely weren't baby snakes.
Wow.
I took video of it. So maybe what I'll do is post the video to our Instagram so that listeners can see what that looks like. But it was really something.
Do we know what kind of snakes it was?
They were just garter snakes. Yeah. And of course, like me being the idiot that I am, sure that any conservation person would say, like, just let that be. Like, that's okay to just, like, I couldn't, like, I had to go up and like take a stick and like poke at it. And, as soon as I got close to it, they kind of started to disperse, which was also cool because there's snakes all around you.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I love snakes.
Yeah.
Snakes are cool.
They're cool.
We got a little off track, but that's okay.
Yeah. Father's Day.
What about you, man? Do you have some plans? Do you have some hopes for Father's Day? Like, what do you,
we don't really have plans yet that I know of, unless Sarah and the girls have something up their sleeve, but I don't think they do, because sort of like you said, life has been pretty nuts lately. But my hope is just I want to see my dad. I want to see him, hang with him, spend some time with him. And
just the two of you? Would you prefer to be just
it's
just
okay.
The guys?
Any of my family can be there.
Okay.
And then where he lives is pretty close to the ocean, and so I would like to do a little bit of fishing and maybe some swimming. So
nice.
Throw the old fishing line in a number of times, maybe catch a couple mackerel, and if it's warm enough, I would love to take a plunge into the ocean. It'd be my first dip of the year.
That sounds great, man.
Yeah.
Love it. Sounds great.
Eat some good food. drink a frosty cold beverage, and that's a happy Father's Day for me.
I could go for like a big fat head burger, just a big greasy, gross,
quarter pound, half pound burger.
Just like double patty at least. Maybe like a Lexi's run.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Hope everybody has a great weekend. Not just Father's Day Sunday, but a great Father's Day weekend.
To all the dads out there, I hope it's a little extra special for you.
So, Mark, I want to, you know how a few times over the course of our 100+ episodes, you have caught me off guard in a pleasant way with some trivia questions, some multiple choice trivia.
Yeah.
So I've done that for you, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. So I've come up with a little game.
Yeah.
And it's essentially I've come up with some multiple choice questions about famous, well-known dads and kind of heartwarming traits that they have, I guess, maybe become known for, or it's been reported about them.
Okay.
I wouldn't have known any of them myself.
All right.
So I don't know how widely known they are, but it's a multiple choice thing. So
perfect.
You have a 1 in 4 chance of getting this right.
Will there be some fun music bed underneath this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe and some dings or like sounds,
Yeah, of course. Sound effects always.
Love it. All right, hit me, man. This is great.
All right, here we go.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
Question 1.
Okay.
This famous dad is known to be a steadfast supporter of his children's careers, frequently emphasizing the importance of their happiness and growth. Is this A, Will Smith, B, Will Arnett, C, William Shatner, or D, Willem Dafoe?
Or E, William Cosby. I wasn't sure where it was going towards.
Will Smith, Will Arnett, William Shatner, Willem Dafoe.
I'm going to go from the gut. Here I'm going to choose B, Will Arnett.
Will Arnett is incorrect. Nope. It's Will Smith. Will Smith
burns.
Will Smith is a steadfast supporter of his children's careers.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah, I see that now.
Question number 2.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me shake it off. Shake it off.
This famous dad is known to integrate his musical talents into his family life, frequently singing and making music with his kids. Is it A, John Mayer, B, John Legend, C, John Bon Jovi, or D, Johnny Knoxville?
Okay, I'm going to kill A. I'm pretty sure he's got no kids. I'm pretty sure John Mayer has no
That'd be an
kids.
easy way to rule it out.
So I'm gonna rule out A, John Mayer. B, John Legend. Music really runs in his veins,
Sure
and it's
does.
like that's like a part of like who he is as a human, like on a very like molecular level. So I could see it being John Legend. John Bon Jovi, I feel like he's from an era where I kind of feel like, I don't know, does he have like 30 kids or something that are just like all over the planet?
I am pretty sure
like
I
a
know
little
of
Mick
2
Jagger-esque?
kids. I think I know of two sons that he has, but there could be more.
In Johnny Knoxville, you see, what we're talking about here is music that incorporates kids, which is a very fun-loving thing to do. And Johnny Knoxville seems like a very fun-loving dad. But I'm going to go with B, John Legend.
John Legend is correct.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done. You're 1 for 2. Okay.
Oh, redemption, dude. I feel really good after that one. Okay, hit me with another one.
Question 3. This famous dad is known for organizing elaborate family Halloween costumes.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Okay, I like them already.
A, Neil Peart, the drummer from Rush.
Oh, okay.
B, actor Neil Patrick Harris,
Ooh.
Doogie Howser, MD, among other things. C, Neil Young.
Okay.
And D, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I knew he was going to get in there.
This is probably too easy. This is an easy one.
I think I'm just going to go straight to an answer, which is Doogie Howser. I'm going to go B. Doogie Howser.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Who
has twins,
softball.
by the way. I'll always remember that about him and his children.
Yeah.
Neil Peart. Yeah. I mean, I don't think he had time for kids. You know, he was too busy setting up a very elaborate drum set.
Many cymbals.
Yeah.
We're halfway done, and you are 2 for 3. There's no way you get this one.
Okay. All right.
This famous dad has been known to coach his kids' sports teams, emphasizing the importance of teamwork, discipline, and fun. Is it A, Tom Arnold, B, Tom Hanks, C, actor Thomas Middleditch from HBO's Silicon Valley,
funny show,
or D, Tom Brady?
You want me to choose Tom Brady? That's what you want me to.
That's possible.
You threw me a curveball, football term, with Tom Brady. Who was B?
B was Tom Hanks. A, Tom Arnold. B, Tom Hanks. C, Middleditch. For Tom Brady.
Tom Hanks has several kids, one of whom is successful, an actor.
Colin.
Does well for himself. The other one is
a dud.
Hard to believe that he's Tom Hanks' son. I'm going to rule him out because of that.
We'll take him off. So it's Tom Arnold, Thomas Middleditch, and Tom Brady.
I don't think it's Tom Brady, so I'm going to rule out D, Tom Brady. I feel like Tom Arnold's just not a name. It's just not a name you hear much anymore. You know, maybe once was household name. I'm going to go with Tom Arnold, dude.
It's a great guess, but it's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady.
You tricked me.
Well, you allowed yourself to be tricked. Okay, so that's 2 for 4, and you have 2 more, so you have a chance to come back and come back strong.
Okay,
here we go.
We can do this.
Number 5. This famous dad has been known to create heartfelt, homemade gifts for his children, including building a puppet theater. Is it A, John Lithgow, B, John Krasinski, C, Johnny Depp, or D, Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
JTT, huh?
JTT.
Shout out
you
to
know him.
Shout out to all of our mom listeners who
grew up with a massive crush on Jonathan
grew up
Taylor
having a
Thomas.
crush on JTT. Okay, wait, rewind. Give me those answers one more time.
A, John Lithgow, B, John Krasinski, C, Johnny Depp, D, JTT.
I'm gonna go with Krasinski.
You're making a comeback. You're making a comeback. But this is the pivoting point, right? Because if you get this next one wrong,
I lose.
It's a tie, right? You've won 3 and lost 3. If you win this one, then you really take the cake.
Got it. Okay.
So here's our last question. Okay. And it goes like this. This famous dad strives to give his children a balanced and grounded upbringing despite their fame.
Ooh, okay. All right.
And I need to revise the question to: this famous dad strives or strived to give his children a balanced and grounded upbringing despite their fame.
Okay.
A, musician Prince.
I see.
B, Prince William. C, Prince Michael Jackson, aka Blanket Jackson. D, Freddie Prinze Jr. Prince William, Blanket Jackson, or Freddie Prinze Jr.
Blanket. I'm gonna go right to an answer here. I'm gonna go with my gut. D, Freddie Prinze. Am I right?
No, it was Prince William. It was Prince William. He just wants his kids to have a normal upbringing. You know?
That makes sense. It makes sense.
But listen, it wasn't a total failure. 3 right, 3 wrong is not bad. Some of those were hard. You know, some of those were a little bit sneaky.
Yeah. You threw me a curveball
With the Tom
in
Brady.
there. You know I don't like the sports.
I think you did great.
That was a lot of fun, dude.
And don't let this ruin your Father's Day weekend just
I'm not
because you
gonna.
didn't get 4 or 5 out of 6, you know?
I'm gonna feel good about myself for participating. I had a fun time.
Good.
And I appreciate the game, man. That was great.
And for the record, usually I fail at your trivia too.
Why don't we click over to the tape machine? Why don't you pull the tape machine out of the the desk?
Okay, hold on.
Place the microphone in front of it.
Okay.
Rewind it to the beginning of the episode because it's a rewind
I'll depress
episode.
these mechanical buttons.
And then just hit it so that our listeners can hear our interview with her dad, Tessa White. We are excited to welcome Tessa White to the conversation. Tessa is a parent to 5 kids. She lives in Oklahoma City, where she runs an HVAC company. Tessa is a transgender woman and very involved in her community supporting LGBTQ plus pride and equality. Tessa, thank you so much for being here and chatting with us.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. 5 children. Tell us about your family. That sounds like a lot of kids. I have 2 kids and I'm constantly exhausted and overwhelmed.
Well, I have a 26-year-old who is he calls himself a paid athlete. He's a power lifter from Boston. And
Wow.
I have, that was from my first marriage. On my second marriage, we had 2 sets of twins.
Okay.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the twins are now, and pardon my voice, I've been sick for the past few days, so I sound horrible. People will be like, yeah, listen to that trans girl with her deep voice. But yeah, so the twins are now 12 and 17. And oddly enough, they were all 1 pound, 14 ounces. All 4 of them when they were born, they were considered micro preemies. Yeah. So,
That's small. Wow.
yeah. So we're so lucky to have them. And, they're wonderful kids through and through. So in total, it's 4 boys and 1 girl.
That's amazing. I'm going to take a minute and marvel at 2 sets of twins. That's incredible. I have twins. So I'm a dad to twins.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, they're 4. But it's
poor man.
it's exhausting to think of having one other child, much less another set of twins. Is just
Well, we belong to the
mind-blowing.
same club, don't we?
Well, you're in a whole nother level though of that club.
So Tessa, when we spoke on the phone recently, I shared this with you, but I want to say it again here. I learned of you from a Facebook post where you shared a story about receiving a pin from someone. And for our listeners, I'm referring to like a lapel pin.
This
and it's
pin.
from,
That's the pin right there.
That's
the one.
All right.
and it's from the group Dad's Hug To.
Yes.
It has the words she/her/dad on it.
Yes.
And can you provide some context for our listeners on the story of receiving that pin and what that message, her dad, means to you?
Sure. Well, I was a speaker at the transgender Day of Remembrance. We call it T-Door in Oklahoma City. And afterwards, Dad Hugs Too, with one of my really good friends, Aaron Edwards, and his wife, Dina. Super cool. And they had this little bonfire going. And, I'm sitting down there talking to Dina, Aaron's wife, and she has on this button, her dad. And I looked at that button, I was like, holy cow, like that is meant for me. Like, where did you get that? So, a lot of people there were surprised that I was so excited over this button. But the thing is, the trans world is a very difficult world to try to navigate. Very difficult. And we're not just black and white. Everything's on a spectrum. Okay. So, we have really super feminine trans women on one side, and then we're going to have like the equivalent of a butch lesbian off on the other side, and I'm kind of right in the middle, but I'm a realist through and through. I'm a retired police officer, retired patrol sergeant, so I'm a realist. I'm a former Marine, and my kids want to call me dad. So I've taken so much heat from the trans community. Like, how could you let your kids call you dad? And it's like, hey, that's what I am. I'm their dad. Mm-hmm. When I first came out, I immediately went on to a board position with what they call PFLAG, Oklahoma City, which is Parents, Friends of Families of Gays, Lesbians, and Trans People. It's like a family organization for the LGBT community. And they were doing my bio, and in the bio, they said, well, how do you want yourself listed, as a mom or dad to your children? And I didn't know at the time. And I said, their mother. List me as their mother. And, when something happens and you just know it's not right, mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is no one I respect more in this world than my ex-wife. And I heard her a couple days later banging at my door to my house, and I peek outside and I could tell she is fuming mad. Uh-oh. She only lives a few miles down the road. So I opened up the door. I was like, what did I do now? And she's like, you listen here, Missy. She said, you listen to me and you listen to me good. There is one mother that those kids have, and that's me. And there's one father that those kids have, and that's you. And don't ever mix that up again. And you're going to fix this, right? And I said, yes, ma'am, I certainly will. And I fixed it right away. And, that was an important turning point for me, was for me to stay in my lane, too. And to show due respect to the mother of our children. So that was a big moment for me. And she scared the hell out of me. So when I saw this pin, I just couldn't even get over it. And, Dina, who is wonderful, she just took the pin right off of her shirt and she put it on mine. And it really speaks volumes as to who I am as a trans female and who I am as a person.
Yeah, I feel like you said something really important. It was a small thing. Earlier, you mentioned being a person. And we tend to do this thing where we really get wrapped up in a group that we associate with, and we sometimes we identify with the group before we identify with ourselves as individuals.
Yes.
But we are all individuals, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with just having that viewpoint of I'm coming at the world from me as a person.
Well, especially now with the trans women in sports thing, and my kids come into play with this too. And let me tell you, my daughter approached me, my 12-year-old only daughter, and said, Dad, if I work so hard at sports and, out of nowhere, this trans woman comes along and beats me and you think there's an unfair advantage, are you going to stick up for me? And I'm like, you better believe it, kid. Like, if I thought there was an unfair advantage, I'd be the first one to come unglued over that, So I voiced my opinion on this recently. And let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. I mean, I got called every name in the book. One of these trans people told me to go kill myself. I mean, it was really ugly. Jeez. But like you said, Mark, we have a right to our opinion. But in the trans community, sometimes that gets lost. And I totally think the trans woman in sports issue has got to be refined. We've got to revisit this again. This is a huge problem. We are losing so many supporters right now because of this. Yeah. In Oklahoma today, Governor Stitt just signed a law that trans women can't compete in sports in Oklahoma anymore. And my point is, wouldn't it be so nice if the trans community would have said, hey, we agree that there is going to be unfair advantages at some points. We would love to enlist your help, and together maybe we can come up with a solution where we're all going to be happy. But no, we don't want to do that. We just want to hold up our middle finger. We want to say no. it's either all or nothing, and this is what's happening. Now all these laws are getting passed. So I'm going to speak my mind on that too.
I was thinking about a post on the Dad's Hug 2 page. Somebody said the phrase, dad is a state of mind. And I just wonder, like, how do you interpret that? How does that hit you when you hear that? Being a dad is a state of mind.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, being a dad comes with so much responsibility. And no one ever says we're going to do it right. And, you know, you've got to have that dad state of mind to be able to pull this off over the years. This isn't easy, but it's the greatest honor a person could have. You know, I used to say greatest honor a man could have. I'd say greatest honor a trans female could have, in my eyes, is being a dad. So, you know, it saddens me that my kids have suffered, though. My younger 12-year-old twins, they could care less about anything. I mean, they love me. They'll go anywhere with me. They don't care. But my 17-year-old boys aren't too thrilled. And honestly, you know, I always look at it from my point of view, how I would have seen it. And, you know, if I was 17 and my dad turned into this chick, I wouldn't be going anywhere with him either, or her. You know what I mean? I'd be like, no, good luck with that, sweetheart. And I just wouldn't do that. So it does hurt me because I want to be even more of a dad, but I've really had to back off, and I've had to understand what's going through their minds and quit putting pressure on them to allow me to be so involved in their lives whenever they need a little bit of distance, you know?
Yeah.
So that also, when you want to talk about a state of mind, I mean, that was mind-bending to try to get myself through that and to try to pull the kids through it. And, you know, all but one child has pulled through great. You know, I have one 17-year-old son that still is not digging who I am. And, you know, I understand. I get it 100%. But
so interesting to think back to those periods of times now, being a parent. You know, it's just something that comes up a lot in our chats with people, that it's a trying to put ourselves in their shoes now, the shoes that we've been in, but we're now in. We have just such a different set of eyes, you know, looking back.
Yeah. And my set of eyes are a lot more different and a little more complex, unfortunately. But, you know, it's like I am a hyper sensitive person. Now, that doesn't mean I'm reaching for the box of tissues all the time. It just means that, like, I pick up on little things. And to be able to empathize and look back, like you're saying, at 17 years old, at 17 years old, I was hanging drywall with my Hell's Angel stepdad. You know, like, I was in a man's world altogether. Again, I couldn't imagine if he put on girls' clothes, like, I'd run screaming. It's like, you do need to remember where they're coming from and, you know, and cut them that slack when you can. And I really have learned to do that.
That's a great segue into this question. When we spoke on the phone last week, Tess, you shared a story with me about one of your younger daughters asking you to accompany her to a dance. And I think there's sort of a really powerful message there. Can you share that story with our listeners?
Oh, I would love to. And again, I got really reamed out by the trans community on this one. The daddy-daughter dance. The first one, actually, I've gone to two of them now, but the first daddy-daughter dance, my daughter Charlie said, you know, Daddy, you're going to take me, right? I said, of course I am, kiddo. Wouldn't miss it. I said, well, you know, it's going to be a little different with the way I dress. And I said, is that going to be okay? She says, well, I really want my old daddy to be there. And, you know, of course, I start crying right away. And I'm like, instantly, no problem, you know. So, again, I enlist help from my ex-wife and made sure to put my hair back. And I put on a suit for the first time in a few years. And I could not have been more proud to take her to that dance. And we did it again after. It was a no-brainer. And it was wonderful. It was magical that night. I'll never forget it, and I don't think she will either. What was most difficult is watching all the guys that were there looking at me, because trying to figure out just what I was, you know. That was the most difficult part, was watching their pain and their faces trying to figure me out. But, you know, it's just, it is a no-brainer. And it's just like, you've just got to do it. And you do anything. I mean, what is that? I see it online sometimes. When your daughter hands you a play telephone, you pick that up and you say hello no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you do. That is what you do. So I just, you know, I love my kids, and it's those little things that you just can't ever get back once you lose them. And I already have enough regrets. You know, I've already lost about 2 years with my kids over my own foolishness with this whole trans thing. And, you know, I will not lose another second with them along the way.
You mentioned that at that dance, the most challenging part was just other dads looking at you and trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
But that can't be something that's unique to a daddy-daughter dance. I mean, you must be dealing with that bullshit all the time. Like, is it exhausting to, you know, maybe I'm making an assumption here, but I'm guessing you probably, whether you want to or not, have to talk about this one aspect of your life a lot and deal with a lot of looks and a lot of questions and a lot of shitty comments. Is that accurate, or is that conjecture?
You're right. And I have to tell you, I'm 6'3". I'm only going to admit to being 220 pounds. I'm the size of an NFL linebacker, and I have a lot of life experience under my belt. I walk with a lot of command presence, shoulders back, chin up. I try to take command of who I am and have a lot of pride in who I am. I didn't realize, especially being a police officer, you know, when you walk into a store as a police officer, and I always looked really good in uniform, all eyes are on you. All eyes are on you. It's unnerving. But I had 20 years of that, of dealing with it. Now, when I come out as transgender, you are dealing with that times 100. And now you don't know what to say. And you know, I used to have to sit outside before going into a grocery store or department store. I would have to sit outside in my car 10, 15 minutes and mentally psych myself up, you know, because you are going to go through an array of just about anything you can imagine. You know, God hates you, you're an abomination. I mean, I've heard it all. And yeah, it is bullshit. But after a while, you learn to turn it back around. You catch somebody staring at you and you're like, hey, how are you? You know, you take it as a perfect opportunity to say hi to these people. And to tie this back into my kids notice it now. And that was hard. And, you know, I can't insulate them from that very much. What, I just don't take them to the store anymore? I don't go and buy them things? No, right. You know, they're going to have to go along this with me. And I hate it. You know, just like the whole trans thing. I wish this whole trans thing would have just left me alone. I hate this whole trans thing coming into my life and absolutely turning everything upside down in my life. But, you know, when we say this is not a choice, I'm telling you, this is not a choice. It is not, because I, for one, being as hypersensitive as I am, never thought I could go through a transition, not in a million years. And it's just that voice gets so strong after so many years, you're helpless. I explain it like a freight train. You're chugging up the mountain, this big freight train, your whole life, nice and slow. You just kind of deal with it. But then that train goes over the crest of that mountain, down the other side. You throw out every anchor you have to slow that train down. And that train is just going where it's going, you know, and this is what this train looks like. And I wish it wasn't like this, but it is. So you make the best of it. And yeah, my kids have to pay for it in small ways, and I hate it.
Do you find that their friends or peers, are they dealing with ridicule on that level at all?
Well, what's funny today with the younger kids, they're way more accepting. You know, I graduated in 1985. nobody came out as gay, trans, or otherwise back then.
Right.
You know, the younger kids are very accepting. I don't have an issue with that. They don't have an issue with it.
It's interesting. Just this morning, I have 2 daughters who are 8 and 5, and before they went off to school, I asked my 8-year-old, I said, if you made a new friend at school and you learned that they had a parent who was assigned male at birth, but knew that they were female, and so they lived their life as a female, are there any questions that you would want to ask your friend about it? She said, do you have a picture? And I said, sure, I can show you a picture of Tessa. And she looked and she's like, huh. And she's like, I wouldn't have any questions. I was like, okay. At first I was thinking, is she nervous about asking a question? Because she doesn't want to offend. And I said, that's great. It's fine if you don't have any questions. And it's fine if you do have questions. But she said, no, I just don't have any questions. And I thought, like, maybe that's a really good thing and a sign that this next generation is just not going to be a thing. You know, you're not going to get those looks. And I found that really encouraging. I'm encouraged to hear you say that about your younger kids too.
Yeah. And you know, and it's a wonderful indication of what is to come. Now, like my younger nieces and nephews all switch me from their uncle to their aunt right away. You know, honestly, I'd have been happy if they'd have left me their uncle. It didn't matter to me, but they did that, you know, voluntarily and just automatically. So, yeah, it's a huge sign.
So something that's so like prevalent right now in like the national discussion about this is around gender and particularly pronouns. I was thinking about what you said about young kids being more comfortable with it, you know, and what Adam said about his young daughter, which, you know, some of that's really clear, right? It's like a lot of the bias that we sort of kind of get thrust upon us as we grow and experience more of the world's not there yet for her. And she'll grow up hopefully in a world where, you know, there is a little bit more just like understanding, you know, and acceptance and comfort around this notion that I'm going to be who I am as an individual. I'm going to be my authentic self, whatever that may be. But I was reading this article, it was like a Pew Research thing. And around pronouns in particular, you know, people in Americans, it was a poll of Americans, still very like almost kind of 50-50 split with the level of comfort around using gender neutral pronouns. I just wonder if you have an opinion or a thought or anything to add to the discussion. Like, how do we sort of successfully, you know, make the shift where in our society, we're just generally speaking become more comfortable with gender neutral pronouns? And maybe why is it important that we get there?
Oh, I definitely have an opinion on it. And LGBTQ, the LGBTQ community, you put LGBTQ plus. Now you have to put 2S LGBTQ plus, and then there's a bunch of other letters. And you know, I hang around 99% men, gay men. That's about all I hang around. And we bitch, piss, and moan about this all the time. Like, holy freaking hell, how many more letters are we going to add to our small little family? Because we're like the catch-all for everybody now. I have to tell you, at first, I really wasn't too sensitive to pronouns. You know, I know what I look like. But after a while, and I think especially after I went through getting my new boobs, right? You know, I'm like, hey, hair's long, fingernails are done, boobs are in place. You know, I've been on hormones for 8 years. You know, maybe you could just start calling me a her or she, and, you know, that would be really nice of you. And I have to say 75% of the time I get what I want out of that. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned gender neutral, the they, them pronouns. And I'm telling you, that one is, it kills me. And I always think, do you remember when Prince, the rock star Prince, went to the symbol?
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, formerly the artist formerly known as. And now he's got a symbol.
They had an interview with his housekeepers, and they're like, we don't know what to call him, so we just say, hey, you know, and that's how they talk to him. Well, with the gender neutral pronouns, they, them, and I know several non-binary people, you know, that means they don't identify as either male or female. I understand where they're coming from. I know to most of the straight community, it doesn't make any sense to them at all, and I get that. But it is so hard to know what to call them. Yeah. So in my eyes, and what I've noticed a lot of times is they'll just accept whatever pronoun you throw at them. But I know to the general straight community, it's very confusing. And honestly, to us in the LGBT community, sometimes it's confusing to us too.
The thing that I think about with pronouns is I will call somebody whatever they want to be called. And if I call them the wrong thing and they correct me, great. I want my children to grow up feeling the same way, calling people, referring to people however they want to be referred to. But when I think about the conversation around pronouns being very prevalent, you know, even my older daughter's in the second grade, you know, and she's aware of it, you know, and she's open to it. And what I wouldn't want to see is for it to become a thing that's popular to do, to change your pronouns, even if you do not identify as non-binary, only because I wouldn't want for the meaning to be taken away from the people who actually do identify that way. Does that make sense? Like, I wouldn't want for it to become diluted for the people who really benefit from being able to choose pronouns.
It does.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. You know, some of them are going to do it like you said, you know, hey, I need a change. Maybe they're feeling, you know, now that all this is at their access, maybe they're like, hey, maybe I'm feeling like, you know, more feminine than I am masculine. And I don't think there's anything we're going to be able to do to prevent people experimenting and making that error in judgment. But this is where I definitely think that, you know, psychotherapy, having some type of counseling service is absolutely vital, you know, because, you know, even when I was like at the age of 32, when all this really came to a head for me, I thought I was going freaking crazy. I mean, I thought I was completely losing my damn mind. And it took years of me sorting through all this before I finally was comfortable to say, yes, this is for sure who I am, and there's no going back. You know, this is a one-way trip. You know, and that is another hot button right now with the general public, with the straight public, wanting to make sure that children will be okay, wanting to make sure that children aren't going to make a horrible mistake, so they think. And I think counseling is vitally needed to make sure that we keep that to a minimum. But the one thing that does scare me, and I have seen this twice now, is a child will tell a parent, oh, I feel like a girl, and the parent like takes it and runs with it. And there was two cases where it really scared me. I'm like, you need to let your child work this out. Don't go jumping and taking this too far too quick. You know, let this work itself out. And sure enough, both of those cases, those children after a couple of years went back to their born gender, you know, their gender at birth. So it's concerning for me. It is.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about Dad's Hug too. You mentioned PFLAG. Are there any other, you know, groups, social media groups, resources that you find particularly useful in terms of just normalizing the conversation?
You know, when I came out in Oklahoma City, right here in this red state, we have a gay district here. And I mean, I was out 6 out of 7 nights a week. I was getting to know who my new family was. I was going through all these experiences. And life was great. It was a whirlwind for 2 or 3 years. You know, your feet never even touched the ground. You had a whole new culture to explore. Nothing was a substitute for life experience. Peer group meetings are so important. You know, there are so many wonderful people in that community, and we have so many good parents too.
Yeah.
We need to be good human beings and keep that dialogue always going. And that's why having a chance to get on here tonight and speak to you guys ended up being really important to me, to be honest with you. You know, and I just don't know how to thank you enough for having me come on, especially because it involves my kids so much. And I just think it's wonderful what you're doing. So,
well, I mean, I feel like that's such a great place to sort of put a pin in this conversation. And we really appreciate the fact that you took the time to come on and chat with us. This is an ongoing conversation for us. Anything that's related to being a dad, what it means to be a dad, to try to become better at being a dad and, you know, becoming better humans. So we're really appreciative of the fact that you came on and you chatted with us, and it's been a great conversation.
It has.
And thank you for coming on and sharing.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it too. And I will not forget this night. I guarantee it.
Let's close out the episode in a proper and formal way by saying this has been yet another episode of Modern Dadhood, and we thank you for being here with us. We invite you to go back and listen to any or all of the episodes in our archive by finding Modern Dadhood on, you know, the Apple Podcasts, the Amazon, the Spotify's, the Pocket Casts, the Overcast, the Hark Audios, all of them. Please do take 10 seconds to leave us a quick review just to help validate the show for other dads who are curious about Modern Dadhood or looking for a fatherhood themed show. And probably even more importantly, if you like what you heard, please tell a friend about the show.
Oh, yeah. Tell a friend about the show. Also, we've got some merch. We don't talk about the merch all that often, but we've got some very comfortable Modern Dad hoodies that you can buy for yourself or a loved one. T-shirts as well. Every piece of merchandise comes with a free sticker.
Put it right on your laptop.
Yeah, put it on your laptop.
Bumper.
Oh, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on LinkedIn, if that's your thing. You can find us on TikTok, all by searching Modern Dadhood.
We've also been throwing up some longer video segments on our YouTube channel.
On the tubes. Check us out on the tubes.
Thank you to Casper Babypants and Spencer Albee for the music in Modern Dadhood. Thanks to Tessa White, who joined us a couple years ago and has made her reprise. Which one is it, Mark?
Reappearance
in our Rewind episode. Thank you, Tessa. You are awesome. And why don't you hit that last one?
Finally.
Special one.
Finally, I'd like to thank you for listening.
And happy Father's Day.
Podcast. Just a modern.